What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back, bringing you once again the top Pokemon card auctions of the week recap. And once again, it was an amazing week for Pokemon card sales. Lots of variety to go through, so I think you're really going to like today's video. Folks, please, if you haven't already, consider being a subscriber to this channel. Help me get to 20,000 subs. Please give the video a big fat thumbs up on your way out. And don't forget to use my eBay affiliate link to show your support. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate it. So folks, this week I am bringing you a great variety of not only PSA graded cards, but BGS, CGC, SGC, lots of sealed product, lots of amazing auctions. So without further ado, let's jump right into it here. Starting out with some modern in Astral Radiance. We saw a CGC 10 Pristine Alternate Art Beedrill V that sold for $222.50. And then we saw a PSA 10 Origin Form Palkia V that sold as a Gem Mint 10 for $183 this week. Several Pokemon Go cards graded by SGC. Here is a Radiant Blastoise, got the SGC 10, sold for $41 this week. And we also saw the SGC 10 Radiant Charizard, which sold for $152. And then the Mewtwo V Alternate Art also scored an SGC 10, and it sold for $154 this week. Here are a couple of awesome cards from Chilling Reign. Here's a Galarian Zapdos V Alternate Art that sold for $147, while the Galarian Moltres V sold for $275. A couple of the Charizards from Brilliant Stars. Here's a Rainbow Rare Charizard V Star that sold for $237, while the Alternate Art Charizard V, still looking very healthy, selling for $425. And before we get into the Sun and Moon cards, here is yet another special delivery Charizard, graded a PSA 10 and sold this week for $1,600, which I do believe might be a little bit more than the sale we saw last week, but I'm sure in time, folks, this card will go down in value. Alright, on to some beautiful Sun and Moon cards. Here is a Latios and Latios GX Alternate Art card. Really getting close to $1,000 for a PSA 10. This week it sold for $910. Here we saw a Black Star promo Shining Lugia in PSA 10, sold this week for $455. And from Evolutions, one of the most beautiful Evolutions cards, in my opinion, the holographic Mew in PSA 10, sold this week for $217. From Team Up Set, we saw a Rainbow Rare Full Art Gengar and Mimikyu GX that sold for $455. And then heading into a couple of XY era cards, here's a Mega Alakazam EX from Fates Collide, sold for $138. And here's a Full Art Articuno from Generations set that sold for $149. And let's not forget, from the Generations Radiant Collection, this Pikachu Full Art card that sold as a PSA 10 for $202. Alright, making our way into the vintage portion, I did see this SGC 10 Cool Porygon Black Star promo, and it sold for $62, which I thought was pretty underwhelming. So I was looking at this card, I saw the back of it. I don't know, maybe it's just the lighting, maybe it's just the way it was laid out, but it didn't look very strong. It looked like it had some edging issues, I don't know. But this is quite a low price when you compare it to the price of a PSA 10, which goes for about $305. So usually SGC is a little bit lower than PSA as far as value, but not quite that low in comparison to PSA. So I don't know, what do y'all think? We saw a Topps Chrome Hitmonchan card, got the CGC 10 Perfect label, and sold for $152.50. And then we also saw a CGC 10 Pristine Topps Chrome Arcanine card that sold for $162.50. So it's kind of crazy how the Perfect example sold for less than the Pristine example from CGC. You think it would have been the other way around. Speaking of CGC 10 Perfect cards, this one actually came by last week, but for some reason I didn't include it in the auctions of the week, but it is a Perfect 10 First Edition Base Set Drowsy that sold last week for $615. And this week we saw a couple of CGC 10 Pristine base set cards. Here is a Unlimited Base Set Tangela that sold for $22.50, and then a CGC 10 Pristine Base Set Onyx that sold for $41. So not exactly the premium you're looking for when it comes to CGC 10 Pristine cards. But we saw this Weedle that also got a 10, and it sold for $102. So I'm not sure what made the Weedle so special, but it outperformed the other two for sure. And then we saw this SGC 10 First Edition Base Set Squirtle that sold for $330. So on to some very interesting WOTC Holo sales. Here is an Unlimited Mewtwo Holo that got a PSA 10 and sold for only $500. And I say only $500 because this card usually goes for like $7, $8, sometimes even $900. So I was kind of surprised to see this card only go for $500. We also saw the Unlimited Raichu Holo sell for $790, and the Unlimited Clefairy in PSA 10 sold for $1,250. And anybody wondering why this Clefairy sold for that much is because it's one of the lower pop holos from this set, along with like Chansey. And then we also saw a CGC 9.5 Shadowless Clefairy that sold for $705. Up next, we saw a Clefable holographic from Jungle, first edition, that sold for $1,879. And then the first edition Lapras holo from Fossil set sold for $2,850. Couple of cards from Team Rocket set. Here's a Dark Alakazam first edition holo, sold for $486, while the first edition Dark Gary sold for $535 this week. On to a couple of interesting Neo card sales. Here is a first edition Ampharos from Neo Genesis that sold for $481. And this is like the low tier holo from Neo Genesis. Like this, Blossom, Steelix don't typically go for that much. So $481 was a pretty good price in my opinion. And then we saw this first edition Typhlosion 18 card that sold for $1,225. And then lastly, for the Neo series, here's a first edition holographic Houndour from Neo Discovery. A very low population card. I think it's like pop 30 something. I'm not sure. I'll put it up on the screen. But this card sold this week for about $3,800 as a Gem Mint 10. All right, continuing on, we had this holographic Venusaur from Expedition set. Nailed the PSA 10, sold this week for $885. And then this, probably my favorite Blastoise card of all time. Y'all got to agree with me. It's the Blastoise holo from Expedition set that sold for $2,500. Here we have from EX Dragon the holographic Charmander, which is an absolutely magnificent illustration. Sold this week for $555.55. And then we saw a reverse foil Dark Dragonite from EX Team Rocket Returns that sold for $2,500. From Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant set, here's a Gengar Prime that sold for $1,393 US. And then we saw a PSA 10 Gold Star Mew from EX Dragon Frontiers, sold for a whopping $7,450 this week. That wasn't the only Mew that sold this week. We also saw this Japanese Mew EX that sold for $565. And then here is the Japanese Play Promo 7,000 point card. This Mew EX that sold as a Gem Mint 10 for $3,584. Several more Japanese cards to go through. From the Japanese Rising Fist set is a first edition Dragonite EX that in PSA 10 sold for an even $400. And then we saw a full art Gengar EX from the Phantom Gate set that sold for $949. A Japanese Crystal Celebi sold this week for $4,150, while the Japanese Crystal Lugia sold for $5,700. And then here we saw a Mewtwo GX promo. This is the HR competition card in PSA 10 that sold for $1,924. And then on to just a few of the graded packs to try and redeem themselves this week compared to last week. Here is a graded Generations pack in PSA 10 that sold for $127, which I can wrap my head more around this pack selling for that much than Brilliant Stars or Shining Fates. Here's an unlimited Jungle pack that sold for $225, and a Japanese first edition Expedition pack sold as a PSA 10 for $570. On to just a few cards from the PWCC weekly auction. Here is a no symbol Japanese base set Charizard that sold as a BGS 7.5 for $3,360. We saw from Neo Discovery a first edition Tyranitar sell for $3,360, while the first edition Espeon holo from Neo Discovery sold for $3,600. We also saw this Espeon EX from Unseen Forces sell for $4,800 this week, and then a first edition Giovanni's Persian from Gym Challenge sold for $5,520. Here is another Evolutions staff pre-release Charizard. We saw one sell last week also. This week it sold for an even $9,000. And then the first edition Shining Charizard from Neo Destiny sold for $12,600. And the auction of the week I am going to give to these legendary beasts. legendary dogs, whatever you want to call them. You hardly ever see them come through as PSA 10s, but here is a first edition Raikou Holo from Neo Revelation set that sold for $8,400, while its buddy, the Suicune, sold as a PSA 10 for $11,100. And the only guy we're missing this week is the first edition PSA 10 Entei from this trio. I would have loved to see what that card would have sold for as a PSA 10. And that concludes our Auction of the Week recap. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate it. That's all I got for you, folks. I'll catch you in my next one.